Have you ever been ghosted or ghosted before?
I have ghosted and been ghosted.
What made you ghost?
She was out of shape.
I don't owe you anything. I don't have to explain myself. You're not my boyfriend. There's no obligation. You're not my friend. You don't want to have an awkward conversation where you're like, bro, I don't like you. And then you're like, why? If I got what I needed from you, no response is a response.
Nah, you gotta let that shit go. Kind of get the ick and you don't know how to explain yourself.
Is this interview an ick for you right now?
A little bit.
Don't do it. Just tell them the truth.
They just want to fuck, and I want to be married.
You know what happened last summer?
I can't talk about last summer. It was crazy, man. It was the two of us.
Wait.
I wasn't there.
Dating is hard. At some point, sooner or later, the person you've been dating for a brief period of time might just lose interest and eventually stop talking to you. Their texts are becoming more brief and more vague. They're taking hours to respond. They're canceling out on plans. They're too busy. Something came up. You might have thought things were going well, but suddenly, sometimes slowly, it falls apart. This strange phenomenon you might be or might have gone through at some point is the act of getting ghosted. To define ghosting from one of the definitions I found on Urban Dictionary, is the act of suddenly ceasing all communication with someone the subject is dating, but no longer wishes to date. This is done in the hopes that the ghostee will just get the hint and leave the subject alone, rather than telling them that they are no longer interested. So what am I doing out here in the middle of fall talking to a phone for a microphone? Well, today we're hitting the streets of New York to interview people about ghosting. Street interviews, I know, so original, right? My goal today is to ask people why they've ghosted a person they've dated before, or why they think they've been ghosted before. So have you ever been ghosted, or have you ghosted someone before?
Both, yes.
Both?
Ghosted someone before?
Both. Yes to both.
Of course, yeah. What made you ghost the last person you were talking to?
If I feel as I was wasting my time.
Because he tried to spend the night uninvitedly. He ate all my goldfish and then wouldn't leave.
I usually do the ghosting. I'm like a terrible texter, and it's not personally.
Who have I ghosted? I mean, I just feel like I ghost people because they're lame. Like, they just do things that are...
What makes them so lame?
They'll say things that are weird, or you see, like, we're not very compatible. Kind of a waste of time.
Because you just kind of get the ick and you don't know how to explain yourself.
The ick? Oh, what's the ick for you?
I mean, the ick for me could be anything. Honestly, like, if you always have, like, a booger in your nose or, like, crust, and, like, I don't want to have to tell you that.
Is this interview an ick for you right now?
A little bit. There's
a little bit?
If I was doing more than I needed to be doing and they weren't doing enough, I lose interest very quickly, by the way, so...
I'm kind of the same way, yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm not feeling you, then I'm gonna ghost you. I don't do it all the time, but if it's like I'm really not fucking with you at all, then I just won't even text back.
I feel like rejecting people is really awkward, and it's like a long process, so ghosting people is just easier.
What made you ghost?
She was out of shape.
Normally, I do a lot of the ghosting. People are weird. You meet them and you're like, oh, just kidding.
She was like, let's just say she was kind of big, bro. And then and one time we were hanging out with her, hooking up. And after we got done, you know, feel me? Like, I kind of felt like a jit, bro. Because, like, we was laying next to each other and I felt so small, bro.
Just the inconsistency of my attachment to people.
And if I'm not that bothered about the relationship, I kind of get anxiety, like texting. I don't even want to open the message. Like, I just forget about the person. Wiped out of my memory, like, it's gone. It just stresses me out. I don't look at my text messages. I'm a big caller, big FaceTimer. Like, I don't text people ever.
So we could FaceTime.
Sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Normally, I wouldn't like approve it, but it really depends on the situation. Like, if people just be too clingy and just keep on being clingy, like sticky, I'll just dip.
If there's one thing that I've learned from ghosting is that people are scared of confrontation. Do you think honesty is the best policy, or do you hope they just get the point?
They should take the hint.
Why do you think they should take the hint?
So you don't have to break their heart.
I also realized that people think ghosting is, in a way, nicer than telling the truth.
Honestly, it depends, but I think it is better, like, overall to tell somebody if you can. Sometimes you just can't. It makes you seem like the bad guy if you do, but you have to worry about yourself and what you need to do, so.
Most people's responses when you talk to them about this is that they don't want to hurt feelings, or they don't want to be mean, or have to deal with that kind of conversation.
Honesty is the best part. Yes.
You don't want to say nothing because you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
Personally, I'm an advocate for hurting feelings, so please, hurt my feelings. So with her being out of shape, do you think it would have been better to tell her how out of shape she was, or do you think it was best to just, like,
No.
Just drop
You
it.
have to ghost. You have to ghost.
If I don't reply the first 20 times, what makes you think I'm gonna reply the 25th?
Oh.
I think it depends on how involved you are.
Just do whatever the fuck you want, what makes you happy. I mean,
Honesty is the best policy because people will continue to talk to you like for a long time.
It feels more rude to text somebody I don't like you than to just ghost. Like that feels meaner.
Sometimes you gotta take a hint.
Well, at least for me, I feel like I don't owe you anything. I don't have to explain myself. That's number one.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
like, especially if you're just dating somebody, it's just like, you're not my boyfriend. There's no obligation. You're not my friend. Also, sometimes it's just like, I don't want to explain myself. It's non-confrontational. That's another reason for other people. It's just like, you don't want to have an awkward conversation where you're like, bro, I don't like you. And then you're like, why? Like, who wants to have that conversation? You know what I mean?
So if somebody were to ask you why you ghosted them,
I mean, it's like, listen, you have to, be considerate towards other people, but at the same time, you want to give a fuck about yourself before anyone else.
what makes you say no obligation? Even if it's somebody you have a connection with.
I mean, what if you felt like we had a connection, but I didn't feel like we had a connection? That's why I ghosted you. You know what I mean? Sometimes girls, especially, because girls are the ones who do it, we just want attention. If I got what I needed from you, no response is a response. By me ghosting you, I'm basically telling you how I felt about you. You know what I mean?
I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so you're kind of put between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to hurt your feelings and tell you that like something about you I don't like, but you can't change it. So I just like won't talk to you anymore. It depends on how much investment.
Definitely don't ghost people. I think it's better to like talk about, because I'm like sometimes it can work out still. Like if you like give it a chance to like talk the feelings out.
Have to be considerate to some degree, but at the same time, you can't be people pleasing. You know what I'm saying?
Always be honest. Because sometimes they don't get the point,
Yeah.
You can't keep going.
Yeah, they're just too clingy, right?
Yeah, bro.
It's definitely better to be honest. It depends on how intense the relationship is though.
Gotcha.
Like if you just ghost someone after meeting them like once, that's like fine.
Yeah, that's whatever.
But like after a couple of days or like a meaningful conversation.
Like an established connection.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think always be honest, but you know how people are nowadays, they don't know how to handle the truth. I think it's all about that person wanting to know what to say next rather than listening. Let me just focus on myself, do me, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Clarity is always nice, I think, for both sides.
I think it definitely helps like just telling them like what happened. It's not that hard to like send a quick message just like, hi, like sorry, I'm like too busy to date. Like
We don't have to have a conversation because I've explained everything.
Honesty is definitely the best policy, but at some points you have to determine whether honesty is even worth the effort. I feel like you got to give what you get, right? So you want somebody to treat you well, you treat them well.
I'm a big proponent of like, do what you want. I want people to like, be able to like tell me straight up when they're not feeling me, so.
I wouldn't be like, oh, this isn't gonna work because I was really bored by you and I was not attracted to you. You know, like I'm not gonna say that. That doesn't feel
You
like...
could.
You could if you're saying honestly.
You're not gonna see them again.
Policy, but that feels mean for no reason. If someone said that to me, I would be upset.
I would obviously never want to intentionally hurt somebody. If I thought that there was like serious feelings or anything involved, then I would probably like go into it and explain. I would never just like leave somebody out to dry. Like I would, as far as ghosting, it's only if like we're not that close yet, if there's not like serious feelings involved.
Wow, I know y'all were doubting me, but I can tell this group is extremely proud of me. You're like, woo, Rockadeem. You're like a JV varsity cheerleading team. Woo, very soft-spoken, hot and open. Dills on the microphone, undulate like oceans. Shout out to the people filming me in my commotion. Dills on the microphone like, oh shit, focus, yes, hey, rich fan. I can tell that lady is a fish fan.
This guy is like.
Oh, you breaking hearts, bro?
He's the ghosting king. So the guy who actually breaks the most hearts, he's inside. He's gonna come outside in 30 seconds.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
All right, bet. All right, so we'll start. Okay, have you ever been ghosted or ghosted anybody before?
Yeah, he's been ghosted a lot.
What made you ghost? What makes you ghost?
She was just like psycho.
Psychopath?
Yeah.
Just mad crazy, just texting you, double texting, all of that.
Exactly.
Double, triple. Here's the master
Yeah, but this guy, he's the.
Oh, you want to come in?
Come on.
Yes.
Talk about your worst ghosting experience. You know what happened last summer?
Oh no!
Oh, go ahead, go.
Last summer. No, we can't.
This is content. Go ahead.
I can't talk about last summer. It was crazy, man.
You don't have to drop names.
It was the two of us. Not two.
Wait.
I wasn't involved.
Oh, we're all set. Yo, this is a great interview.
Oh, damn.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. You're good, man. Have you ever been ghosted or ghosted anyone before?
Damn, I've definitely been ghosted before. I'm not really a ghoster though.
Can you talk about you getting ghosted?
It was kind of like I seen it coming because it just wasn't working. I wanted it to work, but like it was just one of those things where it wasn't gonna work, and so we went to the same school. So I saw them anyway, and we just stopped talking in that way.
How do you feel about getting ghosted?
I feel like ghosting is kind of weak. Like, I feel like if you a grown person, you should be able to communicate why you don't want to fuck with somebody. But at the same time, I do understand why somebody might just be like, nah, like, it's over. That's just not really my personality. I'm the type to communicate, you feel me?
Why do you think you got ghosted?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know. She just blocks me.
She blocked you?
Yeah.
Do you think she caught the ick?
I couldn't feel too bad because I've ghosted so many times that like I didn't feel too bad about myself. I've just never really gotten my feelings hurt in that way, and I don't want to make it seem like I don't have feelings here. But when I like somebody and they like me, it usually works out. But when it doesn't work out, I already kind of know it's not going to work out from the beginning.
Could be for a lot of reasons. I don't know. Maybe they weren't interested and they just didn't want to say.
It's either or. It's either they don't like me enough and they ghost me, or they like me too much and it's too much. So probably because it was a little too much.
They just want to fuck. Yeah.
They ghosted you because they just wanted to smash, or
They just want to fuck, and I want to be married.
Be committed, okay?
I don't know. Maybe she got the ick or something.
What do you think her ick was for you?
One time, I skateboard and I had said goodbye to someone I knew, possibly gonna date, and I was skating away and I ate shit on my way out.
Oh.
Sometimes we don't share the same opinion. We are not on the same page. These days, we get ghosted really fast. It doesn't take much to ghost someone. But in my opinion, I would never ghost someone if I think the person doesn't deserve it.
I don't know, probably just wasn't into me anymore.
Probably a lack of interest on my part. Like I wasn't responding quickly or fast enough.
I can read the room and I'll exit the situation before we even get to that point. Because I feel like you can kind of tell, like a girl especially, she won't message you as fast. The conversation will be a bit different. You know what I'm saying? Before
the vibes are different.
Fully just go ghost.
That's not nice.
I was on Tinder and I didn't have my a height on it. I had set up a boba date with this one woman. We had the date and place and everything. And then I said, hey, by the way, I don't want to catfish you. I'm 5'6". Is that okay? And then she ghosted me then. And then a week later, I checked her bio and she had put in 5'8" in flats, 5'11" heels on her bio.
So do you think it's better to ask why you've been ghosted before, or to just let it go?
No, you gotta let that shit go.
Once you already notice somebody's not jacking you or they're not answering you, it's over. Because if you keep asking them, now you're just annoying. If they ghosted you, there's nothing else to talk about.
Clarity would have been cool. If she had texted me and been hey, sorry, I'm not about it because you ate shit in front of me or you fumbled it in front of me.
It's always best to clear things up because then no one gets hurt. At least are trying to not hurt the other person. But I think sometimes you need to go on, but this is just the case when you were in a relationship and it went pretty bad. Otherwise, I would not do this.
I feel it's best to move on, but if you really want to know, if you're just getting into dating and you're trying to figure out what's going wrong in your dates, it's good to ask so you can better yourself, improve yourself, do better on the other dates in the future.
If that's your goal, then go ahead and ask. But if you don't really care, if you feel like you're satisfied with the situation,
just drop it.
Drop it.
Why do you think you should let it go? Don't you think you deserve an answer?
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not entitled to someone's response.
I think actually, if you did ghost me, I think I'm better off.
Did you ghost before because you got ghosted, or was it something else that happened?
That's a really good question. Yeah, it was after because it felt oh, this happened to me. I guess this is the environment. I guess this is how dating goes.
If it happened to me, it has to happen to somebody else.
Yeah, somebody's got to pay, man.
Confrontation will definitely help you in the long run. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's do this. Let's do that. So that way you are better as a person moving forward, because when things are up in the air and you don't know, it allows your mind to create these unrealistic scenarios, which ends up making you angry. But then you're only angry because of what you thought of. Sometimes the conversations might not go as planned, but at least it happened and you know that was actually real compared to what you thought of.
I think it's one of two things. It's either playing hard to get or they just genuinely don't like you. Either way, if you don't respond, if they're playing hard to get, eventually they're going to say something. Or if they don't like you, then you know they don't like you.
I think it's not a very extreme case. I know some people get ghosted after 2 dates or 3 dates, and that's really rough. And in those cases, yeah, the magnitude is way worse.
As a guy, you can't take the message and keep it true.
What he said.
I think it's cowardly. Yeah.
I'd leave it alone unless they came back. Then I'd definitely ask.
Do you think it would be better to ask them and get clarity, or just drop it and let go?
I don't like confrontation, so I'm good with it. Yeah, you can drop me. I don't care. But I don't like awkward conversations.
That's enough clarity. I don't think you should ask further questions or ask why somebody ghosted you. What's meant for you will be for you, and you don't really need to look further into it. That's enough closure, and you should just move on and kind of take the information that you've been given instead of looking further into it.
There's a way of just telling someone you don't like them without making it sound like you're hurting their feelings. What have you learned from ghosting so far, overall?
People do it to just avoid conflict, and because they feel it's a lot easier, which ideally it is, but
it makes sense.
It makes sense, but imagine doing that on the business side. It's just really not a good way for relationships.
It's not a good look in the long run.
Exactly.
Is there anything you've learned from ghosting?
Is there anything?
thing I would.
No. I don't like when people do it to me. No. It's kind of fucked up. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to realize, like, it's just human nature. We just do things that are fucked up.
Yeah, you'll care for like 10 minutes and you forget about it.
I totally forgot about it until now.
I learned that it's not always the best way to handle things, but I also like know that whenever you are trying to pursue somebody, you should know if you really want that to work or not. If your intentions aren't right from the start, then there's no point in even like getting into those type of conversations where you have to ghost at the end of it.
Usually people who ghost are afraid of a confrontation, one, or they were like too nervous and just didn't know what to say, and they just didn't say anything about it. So sometimes, you gotta address the issue by either calling it out or just letting it go.
Some people just don't know how to communicate well. Since they can't communicate, they just choose the easier option, just to not say anything at all. We feel like we needed more information to kind of figure out why things didn't work out. Like, that's on us to go out and get that answer. If we learned how to do that as a society, we would grow. Because then you learn what mistakes you're making and kind of make adjustments.
Kind of means you're a bitch. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but like if you're ghosting,
no, go ahead.
You're a bitch.
I don't really know. Take your time with relationships. When I say relationships, I ain't kind of relationships like friendships. You have to take your time with it. Really get to know a person before you start saying shit like "I love you" or like, let's do this, let's make moves, let's
Everybody has their own things going on, and you can't really force people to be a part of your life, and you can't expect people to act up to your standard, what you expect from people. You just kind of have to accept people as they are.
I don't think it's a good judge of character. Like, I don't think as a person you should ghost people. I think like it's just respectful, to be honest.
I feel like for someone who isn't super attached, like you can just be like, okay, I don't need to have a conversation and just like peace.
It's hard to not ghost is what I found, but like it's definitely always worth it to like say something rather than nothing and have it be a conversation. Even if you don't want friendship, like you feel like kind of like an asshole if you do ghost.
Do you think ghosting is good or bad or acceptable?
It can be acceptable in some matters.
Acceptable isn't the word I would use.
If I was on the other end, I'd probably be tight. I would feel some type of way, but
I mean, no, it's morally wrong, but like at the same time, like you don't owe anything to anyone, so it is what it is, right?
I don't think it's fine.
If the person is crazy and I'm like, you too much for me, okay, you blocked.
It's definitely bad because like if you're talking to somebody, you have a good relationship with somebody, and then you just stop like talking to them and not like noticing them anymore, it's a bad thing, very bad thing.
I guess it's all about the way you go about it. You have to be considerate towards other people at the same time. Look out for your best interest. Shit, I mean, I'm young. Sometimes I'm trying to learn who is good for me to spend my time around.
Low key though, I think everything's acceptable under certain circumstances. I can understand like if you're a woman and a man is just acting totally out of character, like he's just too much, I can understand wanting to just ghost him and like not even have that conversation. But I feel like as a man, that's gonna probably sound sexist, but I feel like as a man there's no reason to ghost a woman.
I mean, if there's like a certain reason that you don't want to have contact with somebody anymore, then
why don't you just tell them that?
You don't want to hurt their feelings.
What? It hurts your feelings more to not know why someone's not talking to you.
If you're in a whole relationship with them, it's a little messed up, but if it's like a one-night thing.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, I don't owe you anything, right? So they're like, I'm just gonna dip.
you know what I mean? It's New York City, bro. It's so many people. So what if somebody ghosts you? You can like find 5 shorties to replace her. Like you standing out here, you can give your number to like 50 women. It's all
I can give my number to you.
Huh? And then you get ghosted.
Sometimes I just go so I don't hurt their feelings.
I don't love the practice of it. I think it's like cowardly.
No, you just say I'm not interested. I do it all the time.
I think it's natural. I don't think it's good or bad. I think if you're going into things and ghosting on purpose just because that's petty. It's just a part of like dating and like experience that we have. As long as you're not like 40 years old ghosting people, like that's weird. But if we're all in like our 20s, high schools, whatever, like it's just gonna happen. It is what it is. And
We're young, dumb.
Yeah, it's part of learning about it all. It's stories to tell like right now.
Yeah, I don't think ghosting is good at all.
Maybe they have their reasons, or maybe their mental health just sucks, or like they just don't want to talk to me anymore. It's like, all right, cool, on to the next.
So there's obviously like certain scenarios that I think it's okay, but in general, no.
Don't do it. Just tell them the truth.
I don't think it should be acceptable. I think it's more accepted like now in our culture. Like we have a term for it. Like it's very like known. But should it be done? Probably not.
I think it's a bad thing, but people does it anyway because if they are hurt, they don't think straight and just do it. It's always better to clear things up, for both sides.
In my humble opinion, I see the reasons why people ghost, but I don't think we as a society should do so. It's not okay. I've been ghosted 3 times by now. The first 2 times I kind of shrugged it off after a while, but it did always hurt. There's signs you'll see prior to the ghosting, and I've been rejected plenty enough times by women to just see the signs that they don't like you. Listen, for the people watching this video that have done the ghosting before, just know that it is kind of fucked up. Cutting all communication off with someone who does like you and not at least telling them the truth about how you feel is cowardly. And for the people that have been ghosted before, just know that you're not the only one. I've been ghosted myself before and it sucks, but you gotta just keep it pushing and move on. The last time I got ghosted did actually affect me a little harder than the last two. Is that why I'm making this video? Maybe. When it did happen the last time, something inside me just really needed to figure out why. At least some kind of explanation. I did end up just messaging her about it, asking, hey, what made us stop talking? I won't really go into details, but honestly, I don't know if she gave me a complete honest answer, but I decided to just let go after we talked. All of this gave me a quick reality check to just really be on guard, as sad as it might sound to some of you out there, because you really don't know whether or not things will work out, considering me and this girl had been talking for about 2 months, I'd say. It's actually more of a good thing than it is bad, because that person was never meant to be in your life anyways. If they think ghosting is the better option than the truth, then that person was never meant to stick around with you in the first place. It says a lot more about them rather than yourself. Considering I've been ghosted before, I've never actually ghosted any girl before at all. One date or two just doesn't count at all in my opinion. All the women that I've had connections, relationships with, it never got to a point where I felt like I needed to ghost them. If anything, more than likely, I'm not going to associate myself with you if I don't see a future or a connection between us. And that's going to happen pretty early on before it even gets to a point where I feel like I should go ghost. In all honesty, I'm not making this video to shame people for ghosting others or to make people feel better about it if it did happen to them necessarily. I'm just trying to understand both perspectives and what the majority has to say. This video isn't to make me feel better about how I've been ghosted in the past, as I'm sure it could happen again. If you can't handle it and you do think it's better to ask them why they've ghosted you, at least do it in a way where it's not awkward or emotional. It's probably better to just not ask them at all, because who knows if they're even going to be honest with you in the first place, let alone just responding to you in the first place. I also personally feel like ghosting is more common for men than it is for women, mainly due to the more available options women have compared to men, at least when it comes to online dating. You can fight me on that, but that's just what I see. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't understand. Maybe I'll never know what true love is. Matter of fact, bro, why am I even making this video? Cut the camera off.